So, your project has gone south, but yet you are oh so close to finishing it. Do you push it to the side of the plate, or do you finish your vegetables? And that is the title of episode 11 of the Digital to Dice podcast, Finishing Your Vegetables. I am Dave.
I'm Ron.
And yeah, so I finished up a rather large project, actually my biggest project to date. I finished up this week, and I've been talking with Ron all week long about how it's going south and the things I've been having problems with and how the fun has kind of gone out of it. But yet I said I'm going to finish it anyway, and so we're going to talk a little bit about that. It's kind of almost a sequel, Ron, to one of our other episodes when we talked about when your project goes south.
Exactly. In your case, where you playing a team that's kind of a masochistic project anyway, and they even, although in the end they overperformed for you, but you had a stretch where
we'll talk about that. Let's not spoil anything. We'll talk about that.
It's just kind of the lima beans kind of hit your plate and they got cold in a hurry.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of that sketch in the movie Airplane. It's like, the point counterpoint. They bought their tickets. They knew what they were getting into. I say, let them crash. If you remember that scene from the movie Airplane, that's always one of my favorite scenes. So anyway, ways to get a hold of us here on the Digital to Dice podcast. DigitalToDice.com is the website that points you right to our Spreaker page, where you can see and listen to all of our episodes that we have now, as we're up to 11 episodes right now. We have a dice line, 978-751 DICE, 978-751-3423. You can send us a text, even a voicemail if you'd like. We may or may not read or play that on the show. On Facebook, we have a group, facebook.com/group/digital to dice. And I think that's about all the ways to get a hold of us. Oh, Ron on YouTube is the Retro Sports Network on YouTube. Right. And I am just Dave Gardner Videos on YouTube. So, Ron, this week I'm going to defer to you to talk about what we're playing, because what I've been playing is wrapping up a project that is kind of the meat and potatoes of this vegetable show.
Yes.
And so why don't you go first? Let me cue in the music first.
This week, Timmy Gibbler gets a perm on a very special Full House.
And they got a new puppy.
I'm not going there. Yes, they do, and it's not trained, but neither was Kimmy. Let's see. This week, I've been playing. We started week 2 of my 1986 Pro Football replay. And so you can catch live games every Tuesday and Thursday at noon on my YouTube channel. And on Tuesday, we did the New England Patriots and New York Jets from week 2. And just goes to show, because Dave watched part of that, subbed and unsubbed to my channel 5 times in the whole process. My screen wouldn't stop going ape from all his unsubbing and resubbing. Shows you just how important special teams are in a football game. I mean, if you to spoil it for you, the Patriots were ahead at the half. The Patriots kicked off to start in the second half. Jets return. It was 10-7 at the half. Jets kickoff return for a touchdown to start the second half. Dave unsubbed 7 times just for that play alone. And then the subsequent kickoff was fumbled by the Patriots, recovered by the Jets. Dave drove back to Burlington to beat me up for cheating so badly. And then when the Patriots had one last chance at the end of the game to try to win, they fumbled the punt return. I'd forgotten. Yeah, I'd forgotten that until I watched it last night.
I had already unsubscribed and I went on to other videos, but at that point I didn't see that.
Yeah, but it just so one of those basic things about football play in general, which is not what we're talking about today, is that those little things there, whether it's a missed block or a penalty, but just really kind of throws you off. And one of the good things about Action PC is that you don't know when that's coming. There was none of that wasn't realistic as far as that. In fact, the Heidi Bowl, which neither of us were, well, you might have been alive for it, but, in diapers and not watching. The Raiders scored the 2 touchdowns in the last 50 seconds to beat the Jets in 68. After the country had gone to see Heidi the movie, thinking the Jets had it wrapped up, and they didn't. So one of those things. And so that's just one of those cute little things about that specific game engine that just kind of makes you want to play more, don't you think? I mean, I know it's not your team that happened to, but just, we've talked a little bit about the Action PC, the subtle things, but that's one of those wrinkles that you wouldn't want to have it all the time.
No, I've said this a lot about the Action PC games, and no matter which one it is. I play mostly hockey, but you see these oddball things that happen. In fact, how many times in your game there was 10 seconds left, team kicks off, a guy runs it back for a touchdown on the kickoff to tie the game and force overtime. That stuff happens all the time. I shouldn't say all the time, but it happens. It happens enough that it feels realistic. It's not one of these games where it's like, well, there's zero chance of a kickoff return. No, there's always a chance for something crazy.
Right.
Or, how many times did you or, Red Sox fan Al, have a last-minute safety, a walk-off safety in that game on a safe play?
We have a club. Al and I are the members. We serve celery and moxie, and I can't wait for you to join us.
But what I'm saying is that there's times that you guys have played it really safe and something crazy happens. But it's not all the time. It's not so much that it's like, well, we expected this.
A given, because the first week of the replay, when we did last week, I did 3 games, 2 live and 1 on tape, and they were all blowouts. There wasn't anything there that was like, wow. And so you can have a blowout, and you can know in the third quarter that the other team is in dire trouble, and by the start of the fourth quarter, they're not coming back. Now, that's fine if you're going into finishing your vegetables. You can either, because it's a computer game, you can zoom through that and say, I'm done with the game, or you can be good and just play it out, because you never know. Because all of my projects are open, you see all my work, you play it out. But, it's one of those things that if you were at home and, it's late, the dog needs to go for a walk, the wife wants to go out to dinner, and you're down 27-3 in the fourth quarter, what are you going to do? You're going to zoom it.
Yeah, and I have when I first started playing that game, I was doing that. I was like, oh, man, I'm having a hard time here. Let me just finish this game. Zip, and you're done.
But it kind of goes into our topic matter of finishing your vegetables.
Yeah.
Like, who wants to watch this?
Yeah, we'll talk about that when we get into the main segment there.
So that's pretty much what I got going on.
Okay, anything else besides the Action PC football?
Not sports related.
Not sports.
I picked up something cool on Steam called Supreme Ruler United or whatever.
I think I've heard of the Supreme Ruler series.
It's actually quite cool. It's a little easier than the Paradox Grand Strategy games, especially Hearts of Iron. But if you're a fan of the Hearts of Iron or Europa Universalis or what's their Victoria, which I didn't really like, Crusader Kings, if you're into the medieval stuff, and I'm not talking the 50 Shades of Grey medieval stuff too. I'm talking about then this will be right up your alley, and you can play anywhere from 1914 through the present day and into the future. But I'm trying to learn that game. It's easier to pick up, so that's the other thing I'm playing. So I guess I will talk about it after all.
Yeah, no, that's cool that you were playing something a little bit different. I myself, I got away from the cards and dice for a night. Maybe I mentioned this on the last show. I don't remember. I get on the PlayStation. I streamed this little space game called Resogun. I don't know if I talked about that on the last show.
That, yeah.
Okay, so I played that again. That was fun. It was just one night that I just didn't feel like pulling out the cards and dice, and was just had a long day at work. And I said, I haven't streamed in a while, so I fired that up and I played a little bit of that space game on my channel. So if you tuned in and you saw me playing something that wasn't cards and dice, this is the stuff that I usually used to stream, back not that long ago, and still enjoy.
I've watched you stream Assassin's Creed too.
Yeah, that was probably the last major game I played. That was back in the spring. Love that game. I think I put 200 hours into that Assassin's Creed Odyssey. That was just a fun open world game that I really enjoyed. I don't want to get into too much of that, but that was really fun, the Assassin's Creed Odyssey. So once in a while I will get on the and stream. One other game I like to stream is that there's a racing game. Oh boy, no, it's not called Gravel. It's not dirt. It's called Gravel.
Oh, I watched that too. That was fun.
Yeah, I've streamed that a few times, and that's just you just dumb everything down. You put everything on easy, and you just race, and you race through snow and ice and beaches and whatever it is, and that's a really fun, simple racing game. I enjoy.
Not as funny as that North Korean hockey game that you were playing.
Oh yeah, let's not talk about that. That was not good.
But normally I don't stream the non-sports games because you want to take your time and doing that. So out there, what kind of gaming do you do that's not sports related? What's the number for the Dice line?
978-751-3423. Yeah, send us a message or jump on Facebook to the facebook.com/group/digital to dice and let us know. Do you ever do anything besides sports sims? It's nice to get a break once in a while doing something different.
I will fly a plane every once in a while. Now, Dave's met me, and he didn't pass out for me saying that. And, I like train games as well. And so, yeah, there's a variety of different things that I do besides the sports sims that you guys see.
I have this game, Ron, that I played. I was going to try to stream it the other day, but it's such an older game. It does weird things with my computer as far as formatting and stuff, and it takes up the whole screen. And if you want to stream, you got to exit the game. So I was trying to stream it. It's called AC-130. It's a gunship game.
Ooh.
It's an older game, and I was like, this would be really fun to stream because you're in the gunship and you're looking down and you're providing cover for your guys, okay? And you have the 3 guns. I think you have the 130 millimeter, the 50 millimeter, and the 20 millimeter, which is the machine gun. I could be wrong on the sizes, but there's 3 different guns. It's
right, you got auto cannons essentially.
It's the big boomer, the middle one, and then the machine gun. And obviously, the big boomer takes up it. When you shoot that down on the guys, it takes out the vehicles and everything, but it takes a long time to reload. The middle one loads quicker, and you can shoot more of them, but it doesn't do quite as much damage. And the machine gun is pretty much full auto, but it's designed just for taking out the troops. So the idea is that you circle around, and you're at the mercy of the AC-130 circling around, if you can follow that, depending on your angle. So you don't always have the best angle. So you're trying to defend people and keep people from coming over bridges. And it's an old game, but it's really fun. And I just couldn't figure out how to get that to stream. Someday I will, though. But I was playing that the other day. Yeah, that's a fun game. They have it on the iPad, too, and I play that once in a while.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yep. And it's a modern version of that, and it's actually zombies that you're fighting instead of you're trying to get people into the bunker in that game, and you're trying to kill all the zombies that are coming after them rather than people. But anyway, so
yes.
All right, so let's move on to our main segment, shall we? We're going to talk about finishing your vegetables.
So you get that project, you're almost through it, and things kind of go for you.
Yeah, so that's what happened with me, Ron. So as you guys all know, my project in the background here, my biggest project to date has been with Shootout Hockey, and I started this, got to be a few months ago, and I've just been chipping away at it, and I decided to play the 1973-74 California Golden Seals, one of the worst teams in the NHL as far as records go. I think they won 13 games that year. And I said, something, I'm going to use this as my full season replay as a bigger project. And so I took the Seals. I went on to the website there, and I printed out their schedule. I printed out who was the starting goalie in each game, so I had all the goalies correct for all 78 games, and I started to chip away at the game. And what was really fun about this is I used all kinds of methods to play this game with Shootout Hockey. I used strictly dice and charts. I used strictly fast action cards. I used the online web helper that they have there as well from Lewis Research, and I even used the one that I found recently, which was the program, the actual program, which runs Shootout Hockey, the Shootout Hockey Helper program. So there's 4 ways to play it. Mostly I was playing the facts and the cards and dice, where I'd use some dice, some facts, and I got the game streaming really quick. So I was able to rip through some of these games. And I wasn't keeping stats. I would write down who had the scoring chance, but then I didn't really do assists or penalties. But I did power plays, but if you follow along, I never created a box score. I didn't keep any running stats. The only stats I kept were the goaltender records, and they had 4 different goalies for the Seals that year. So I kept the 4 different goalie records kind of running alongside of my final scores. That all being said, Ron, now I knew what I was getting into, as we said earlier. I knew I was taking a bad team. I wasn't expecting to make the playoffs. I wasn't expecting to go 500. I want to see how many games I could actually win. They won 13. I want to see, could I win more or less? Just wanted to see how it played out using Shootout Hockey. And I had a lot of fun through about half the season. And the record was almost identical. I think I was up a couple of wins the entire way, so I was having some fun with it. And then at about the 2/3 point, I hit the wall. And it was just uncanny, the things that were happening. I hit a 14-game losing streak. And around the 10th loss in a row, the project went south for me. It stopped being fun. And it was so bad that in this game here, if you get a scoring... Now, I know going in, my scoring chances are going to be less than the Montreal Canadiens and everybody else. Okay, I just know that. And that's
as they should be.
As they should be. And I knew that going in. But the thing is once you, in this game, once you get the scoring chance, okay, no matter what team it is, it's all even Steven at that point. Okay, the individual players do not come into play with their skill levels in this game. This is more of a team game. So if the team gets a scoring chance, no matter what team it is, I'm pretty sure that the odds are the same because you're just flipping cards at this point, a generic card, okay, or rolling generic dice. So whether Montreal gets a scoring chance or California, it's not going to make a difference. You're just going to flip the card to see where the shot came from and if it's a goal. And it really doesn't matter who's in net, and it really doesn't matter who's taking the shot. That is all determined in setting up your number.
Right. Your goalie difference in shootout comes on rebounds.
Yeah, I should say that.
Just in case people haven't played it out there. So, the goalie matters to the degree
of saves and rebounds.
Some degree, but it's not like Strat where there's goalie ratings and all that.
Right, yeah. Thanks for clarifying it. So if there's a save or a rebound, then the goalie rating does come into play, right? But for the most part, the goalie rating comes into play at the beginning of the game when you figure out what rolls or what card numbers you flip to get the scoring chance. So the better the goalie, the less scoring chance roll number you get.
Right.
Okay. So that's it. So so the goalies do come in.
You don't want someone to think that Patrick Waugh and I are going to have the same abilities.
Right. But it's almost like game-winning drive, whereas you set up your score sheet beforehand. So if you're playing a good defense, your scoring rolls are significantly less.
Right.
So that's where the goalie comes in, is that your scoring rolls will be less. So, and then your offense comes into play the same way. If you got a good offense, then you have more of a scoring chance. But once the scoring chance or penalties has been determined, it's even Steven the rest of the way. So I just want to get that out. Sorry I was so long with that. What would happen during this losing streak, Ron, is that I would get a scoring chance, and I'd always get less scoring chances, as I said, and I would roll, and it's either blue line, face-off circle, or slot, okay? And that was A, B, and C, and obviously the closer you get to the net, the higher the percentage you would score. I'd be rolling blue lines every time, and I would never score. If my opponent rolled a blue line, they would score. And that was the long shot, and that was the toughest scoring chance is from the blue line. How many times did I flip a card, blue line chance, goal for the opposing team? It just became maddening. It really did. And there was a couple games that I was in it. As far as scoring chances, I was pretty close. I was in the game, but they kept flipping blue lines and scoring from the blue lines. And I would get face-off circle, which is the mid zone, and I wouldn't score. It was unbelievable, the bad luck that I ran into. Knowing I was a bad team, which is all fine. But in this 14-game losing streak, it became not fun. There was and then there was one game I played Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh was a terrible team in '73, and they had almost as many scoring chance rolls as I did. It was pretty even. I just rolled 11, 12, 13, 10 times in a row. Pittsburgh outscoring chanced me 15-2. Pittsburgh, not Montreal, not Boston, not any of the good teams. Pittsburgh. If I had scored on every scoring chance, I still would have lost. There was a couple games I lost 8-3. The next game, 9-3. It's bad enough being the underdog, but it's even worse when all the rolls just go the other way.
And that's going to happen.
And it does. And it got to a point where I started changing dice out. I was like, okay, there's something wrong with these dice. I have not rolled anything above a 14 in 2 games, and if I'm home, I need the high rolls, and so I would go to different dice, and sometimes it would help, sometimes it wouldn't. I mean, it's all psychological, obviously, but I was like, what do I got to do to have some fun in this game? And then it got to a point, Ron, and I got to fess up. I fessed up to you, so I'll fess up to the audience, that I was almost borderline cheating. Have you ever done that? Anybody in the audience, have you ever done that? Things just got so bad that, for example, I would roll the dice, and if it fell out of my dice tray, if it was a favorable roll, I kept it. If it wasn't, that roll don't count. Need to roll again. And it still didn't matter. I still was losing big. And I was like, man, I'm even cheating, and I can't get through it. So I hit the wall at 14 games. I looked up, and I still had, I want to say I had like 12 or 15 games left out of 78. So I was past the 2/3 point. I was almost 75% there. And I was like, do I go on here with this 14-game losing streak where I'm not having any fun anymore? The fun had gone out. I'm playing the game. I'm cheating in the game. At one point, I stopped even keeping track of who was taking the shot because I didn't care anymore. That's how bad this thing went south for me. And I got to a point. What do? Do I say, well, this is my first long-term project, and I just push it aside and go on to something fun? Or do I just roll it out? Do I finish my vegetables?
Well, all long-term projects have their ebbs and their flows to them. And even a good team can go through a bad stretch. Or, give you an example, I did a 75-76 Islanders replay, and they were too good. And so you'd sit there and go, well, here's the next 5 games. You're playing Atlanta, Minnesota, Vancouver, and St. Louis. Okay, I'm going to win all those games. You know, how much fun is that to win every game 7-2, 8-2, whatever? That's not what you want. You want the closer games because there was no parity in the National Hockey League in the mid-'70s. To give you that sort of an example, you playing because, you know, you're playing for the computer stats and all that. Generally, people, I think, pick projects to either change history or understand why something went wrong. There's a friend of ours that did a 2016 Minnesota Twins replay. They lost 100 games. Where the hell is the fun in that? There's another friend of the community that did a 1979 Mets replay. There you go. There's, you know, that's a serious case of masochism right there. And you just kind of run the same thing as like, I know they're bad. You've done stuff with the 76 Bucks. I know they're bad. How bad are they? They're so bad even Dumb Dora didn't want to finish the project. This is one of those things. So, yeah, I mean, at some point you go, the old John McCain line with the Bucks. What do you think of their execution? I'm all for it. And when you take the time to do this stuff on the tabletop of the computer to replay it, yes, it's supposed to be fun, but no one wants to see the story play out the way that it played out in real life. I mean, if you might have snuck out a win or two in the middle of that 14-game winning streak, it wouldn't have been so bad. And what you didn't mention is that you actually beat the record by 4 wins, right?
Yeah, well, I got my little sheet here in front of me here. So, I mean, when all was said and done, at the end of it, I turned 3 losses and a tie into wins. Okay, so I finished with 4 more wins, 1 less tie, 3 less losses, if you can follow that. So I did come on.
You didn't even give me the best part of that. You took 3 out of 5 from the eventual Stanley Cup champions.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I'm still going through who I beat and how I beat. I'm going to come up with a little summary and post that. But it was
3-1-1 against the Flyers.
I was 3-1-1 against Philadelphia. Yep, and we I ended the 14-game losing streak by beating Boston. That's weird, you know.
Some people pay good money for that. I got a couple examples similar. Not with bad teams. Maybe one with a mediocre team, and the other just trying to get a project done. Because you get into that, you know, you talked about, okay, I'm 3/4 of the way through this. I just want to finish the blessed thing.
I did. I started just to run through it really quick. Yep. And, you know, when I finally broke the losing streak, I was like, oh, finally I broke the losing streak. And then down the stretch, it nearly wasn't as bad. But that 14-game losing streak.
Oh, man,
that was brutal. That was brutal. Like I say, I beat the Bruins 4-3. They had Ross Brooks in net. I went on to lose the next 4. But then I tied and I won. You know, I tied the Maple Leafs. I beat the Kings, and this is 73-74 season we're talking about. And that, you know, then I lost 2, tied, lost 2, and then I ended the season with the biggest win of the year. I ended up using the shootout helper, and I said I'm going to end the season with the shootout helper, and that's the one that flips the cards automatically. And I destroyed the Atlanta Flames and Phil Muir in net. It was 8-2 win. It was my biggest win of the season, I'm pretty sure. I scored 8 goals and won 8-2. So I went out on a high note, but boy, I tell you, if I had lost that game against Boston and make it 15 in a row, I was seriously doubting my ability to finish this project because it just...
Yeah, and that's understandable because, as you said earlier, it's no longer fun. It becomes drudgery. It feels like work. Last week of my 78 NFL regular season replay that I streamed, I think we had a wild card or 2 wild cards and a division to settle. So I knew it was going to be a longer week. I knew it was going to be at least a 3-game week. On the first day, Chicago beat Washington to clinch the Central. So then I was down to figuring out the 2, maybe 1 wild card, maybe 2. And then for the next 4 days, I had a win and in game live on my channel. All this team had to do was win, and they got in. Well, for 4 straight days, the win and in teams all lost. Now, if you're just playing, football's meant to be played once or twice a week. It's not something, unless you're a huge football fan, then you could play it to your heart's content. But I think I did 6 games that week. And in fact, I'll tell you what happened. The New York Giants somehow backed in as a wild card team in the NFC because they had to pass 4 teams to do it. They beat Philadelphia, which was a win and in, and then it was Detroit, and someone else in the NFC West too. It was just like, oh my God, would somebody just win a blessed game so I can wrap it? Yeah. But again, because they're being streamed and because it's, that's just the way I did that replay, you got to finish it out. Now, if I was just doing it offline, it would have been, I'll come back to it. So close to playoffs, you're not going to feel like, not doing this anymore. But yeah, by the time that New England beat Miami that last day of the last game of the season, which that 6th game of the week, which I think put Kansas City in the playoffs. I think that was, yeah. I didn't want to play another football game for a month. But yeah, I had a month's worth of playoffs to get through, and those were fine. But yes, exactly the same thing. It's like, can't just somebody do something. You start doubting yourself because they're streamed. You're just not giving it your best effort. Like, oh God.
So let me ask you something here. So let me ask you. If you weren't streaming these, okay, if this was just you playing at the house and you're just having some fun, right, like you did with your 75 Islanders replay, and you're playing these games out, did you think you would just skip ahead or sim them out or zoom ahead, as you say?
I probably would have just done the 2 games that I was most interested in and sim the rest out.
Okay,
in football that the chances are unless once in a while you get a wild card team that makes a Super Bowl. It's really not going to matter.
Yeah, so you felt because you were streaming that you were obligated to play.
You had an obligation to finish up. Now, the other one that I did offline years ago, did the 2000s. I did a combined Red Sox Mets 2006 replay on Strat, using Strat on the computer, and the Mets made it to my World Series. Pedro Martinez's last good year was a good. It was a good team to play, and I had a lot of fun playing those games out. Because they were in a tight division. They won the division. I think normally with these, I think I had like maybe a 3 or 4 way playoff in the National League just to get there, and not with the Mets, but so that was fun. But the other team was the Red Sox, and they didn't play all that well in 2006, and they underperformed for me. And of course, there were players on Boston I didn't necessarily like. I mean, yeah. David Ortiz did good things, but, oh, man, a Red Sox team going nowhere, and Manny Ramirez, that couldn't hit. And I wasn't a big Manny Ramirez fan to begin with. And so, yeah, like, oh, man, do I want to just skip this? Like, no, I'm going to play it out. And the way I had it set up is that, I would play one game per, if I did a Mets game, I had to balance it out with a Red Sox game just to move it along, because the temptation is you get 2 or 3 weeks ahead, then you got to go back up and make up those games.
Now, did you ever do anything like I did where, I was just kind of like rolling dice, not even seeing who was the scorer? Because
that was definitely the case of the Red Sox.
So you were just kind of,
fine, let's just get this game over with. Didn't zoom through it, but just simply a case of, okay, it's over. I really don't care. It's another one down. Let me get to the one I want to do. And like, oh yeah, you'd see, because you could see the mistakes that were made, and like, you knew the season was over when certain pitchers would come out. Like, oh God, this is my choice today. Oh my God, you look at that card going, okay, so if we don't lose this one 6-2, that's for and so yes, you're just playing it just to pull out the string, and hoping to get to the game that you want to play. And so absolutely, just let's play it. They were played honestly, but there wasn't any slowdown. Usually when I do cards and dice baseball, I speed up until I get a runner on base. Then you slow down, make the right decisions, make sure that you record everything properly. But outs and outs and outs and out.
Yeah.
So,
I did the same way. I played mine pretty straight up. Again, was there a couple of games when it was 8-2 in the third period? If the dice jumped out of the tray, I would maybe roll or re-roll depending on what happened. Of course I did, you know what I mean? But it didn't affect who won the game by any means. There wasn't one game that I did anything so severe that it gave me a win or it took away a win from somebody else. It was all pretty much straight up. But yeah, there was times that when I had a 3-0 lead against the St. Louis Blues in the first period, and I lost 7-3 against the St. Louis Blues in 1973, and it just, by the end, I was just I had my hand on my chin here, just kind of rolling dice. Okay, scoring chance for St. Louis. Okay, goal. Scoring chance for St. Louis. Okay, goal. And that's just kind of how I played the third period out, because it was just a blowout at that point.
And to add to that point, even in a cards and dice game where you can't quick sim, and you get whatever, even a game that you wanted to play and it turns into a laugher early. You get 10-0 game in the third inning. Jeepers creepers, what do I do just to get this done? Because those aren't fun anymore unless someone's got a no-hitter or multiple home run game or, something to keep you interested in. You got to entertain yourself for the last 20 minutes or so. Like, no stealing. No, whatever. You just kind of like, mercy rules in effect. Let's just get this done. Like, oh, rain roll, rain out. Yep, we played 7. 10-2 is the final score.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. So this is my biggest replay. It's my first big replay. I ran into that section there 2/3 of the 3/4 of the way through that I just stopped enjoying it for a while. Trudged through it. Now I'm really going to start rethinking my long-term projects because of this. Okay, now I took on a bad team and I knew it. Probably not the way I should have done my first long-term project, but I tend to like the bad teams, as you know. So, I mean, I'm going to rethink my projects now. So whether I'm going to do if I ever do, I will do another long-term project. I know that. But if I pick one team, I would do this again, like your suggestion of taking one of the good Bruins teams of the 70s,
right?
Play them out and keep their stats and see how many points Phil Esposito and Bobby Orr could get. That's something now I would look forward to doing as far as a long-term project. Something like that, something more happy, something where the goal now is maybe not wins and losses. It's how many points would these guys get? Something to that effect, because I think trying to do a long-term project as a bad team, and then when that goes south,
I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I marvel at you for doing it, and I marvel at the ones I mentioned earlier for being able to get as far as they did. I mean, knowing that the odds are against you from the start just makes it all the more daunting. And when you can play a baseball game in 15, 20 minutes, good hockey, you're playing shootout in 15, 20 minutes. It wasn't like you were taking an hour to play all those. I mean, that would just be excruciating.
Yeah, I was actually banging these out in maybe 15 minutes or so. Maybe some were
Once
less.
you get shootout down, it's a relatively fast playing.
I got a really good system down with the dice and the cards where I could flip and roll, and I was getting through it in the whole bit.
Right.
And again, without keeping stats, when I'm just keeping track of the score, it made it a lot quicker as well.
I think with any long-term project, the key is finding something that's going to keep your interest, because you start out red hot. Oh, I can't wait to get this done. And, in a hockey replay, you might get to Thanksgiving and someone got hurt or is out for a month. Crap. Or whatever. And then you put, the key is don't grind through games. There's no expiration date. There's no due date for when a project should be done.
I just think if I would
go do something else and bring it back.
I'm thinking now, I've kind of done my SEALs project. I got that out of the way. I think if I were to do another long-term project, I think it would be a third-person project where I wouldn't take a particular team. I would do either, a handful of teams or do a generic, like what I'm doing with the game-winning drive. I set up 1986 game-winning drive, and I'm going to play all the games out. That's going to be another big one. But I'm not taking a team. And so, yes, I have my favorites, obviously, but since I'm playing every game and I'm rolling dice for every game, I'm kind of looking down on it from above rather than being in it. Like, I felt like I was part of the SEALs on this replay. Whereas, if I sit back and I play kind of every game, I'm not really on any team.
That's one of the things that I found worked for me doing the streaming replays, is that you can pick and choose your games. You can find the 2 or 3 a week or in a round or whatever that intrigue you the most and play those out. And as long, play them honestly, and that'll keep your interest going, because you get a team. Let's face it. In any sports sim replay, you're going to have teams that overperform like crazy and teams that underperform like crazy. That's just the way that statistics and probability works. Doesn't mean the game engine's busted. It just means that you got a bad break somewhere along the way, or a team that maybe went 4-12 in real life, were able to turn a couple of those 2-point losses into 1-point wins, or whatever it is. And so just trying to go with the flow and keeping your interest in doing that. In hockey, that's kind of difficult, Dave, because everybody makes the playoffs. And so it's like, oh, okay, I've got, these 4 or 5 Bruin games left. They've won the division. If you're doing a 70 season, they're getting the first round bye. What is there left to play for? But when you do like a game of the week type deal, you can kind of pick and choose a game that everything has meaning. And for me, that helped keep the interest up. And for my viewers, it helped keep the interest up. You might have got tired of seeing the Baltimore Orioles at the end of my 1982 replay. Well, that was the only race left.
Right. Yeah. And, I like the idea of, like I say, playing from the third person view, doing it, just enjoying the stories as they play out without you being a part of the story. Just kind of
exactly
like you're watching on TV, whereas when I did the SEALs thing there, I felt like I was part of the team, as I just mentioned. So yeah, I think so. If I were to do a bigger one, I would probably step back and do a replay from afar, so to speak, and just watch it play out underneath me. That's kind of fun. Either that or one of my other projects I'm thinking about doing next is the actual reverse of what I did with the SEALs, whereas I'm looking at football because it's football season, and I went online and I was looking at the biggest game point spreads in NFL history, okay, in the modern era, to clarify, not anything from way back. And so I found the one game I already played, which is the Pittsburgh-Tampa Bay game in 1976. I think that was either 24 or 27 points in favor of Steelers. I already played that one, so I don't need to play that again. But there's a handful of other games that were 24, 21, 18-point spreads that I think I'm going to give it a shot playing.
Super Bowl III.
Yeah, there was that one. There was
the Colts were what, 18-point favorites?
I think there was that one there. But there
the Rams were at least 2 touchdown favorites over the Patriots in that Super Bowl.
They might have been. But there were some other games. There was a Patriots-Jets game I think it was '07, and there was a handful of games, and I got them written down somewhere where they were supposed to be blowouts, and some were, and so the complete reverse of playing a bad team, I was going to play the good team. I was going to play the team that was favored to win by a lot, and see if I could beat the point spread, or see how that would play out, or if there could be an upset in a huge game like that. So my next project is tackle some individual football games with some of the bigger point spreads, and to play the favorite this time instead of playing the underdog. Instead of always playing the bad guys, play the good guys, and play the good guys that are supposed to win. It's supposed to win by a lot. And, I might try it with the Action PC football. I might try it with the Mean Gene football, which I want to get back into, or the Fast Action football. Maybe even Game Winning Drive. I might bounce around through a bunch of games there and see how it plays out if I'm playing as the good team against the bad team. So that was one other product I was looking at. I was like, what if I go the other way now? I've already played from the bottom. I ran into my problems. So now I think I might do a shorter project, which is playing some of the bigger point spreads and play as the favorite. Either that or just play as an overview. Like I said, just play as both teams instead of trying to play as one.
The one thing, didn't mean to yell there. The one thing that you'll notice as you do more single team replays, good, bad, or indifferent, is that you're going to learn after a handful of games their strengths and weaknesses. And you can adjust to whatever their strengths and weaknesses. It doesn't matter the sport. The strengths or weaknesses of the team. A football team that doesn't run very well, if they're good, they can pass. And you're going to do that. And so whatever that is, you're going to get involved with. It's going to feel like you're part of that team. So as much as that 14-game losing streak for the Seals, you were part of that. If you were, let's say, to do the Bruins from maybe the year before, because that was a cup-winning team for them, you're going to be on cloud nine if they pull off a 10 or 12-game winning streak. Or our dear friend Dave Little, who had the Milwaukee Bucks win, 24 straight at one point? They lost 2 games the entire season, and I think they went 27-2 in the process. He did a short 20-game regular season and a semi-playoff. And they went undefeated in the regular season. And so, if you play all those games, you definitely feel the elation of that. And I think when they finally lost, that was a live stream for him against Atlanta and Pete Maravich, talking a 70-71 replay here. You could feel that he was disappointed because he had done all that work. They had won everything. And it's gone.
Yeah. Yep. So my new thing would be maybe playing as the favorite. Either that or just playing neutral instead of trying to back.
Yeah, and that's how most of my streams are neutral. And that gets away from, you can always critique yourself and how you do with that. But I know for me, it made a big difference in trying to finish a project because I wasn't losing sleep either way.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So, so I got this one out of the way. I finished my vegetables. I finished the season out. It turned around at the end a little bit, so it didn't end on a sour note, which was good. But boy, that losing streak I had it sucked the air out of the game. It sucked the fun out of the game.
Oh yeah. But in about a month, you'll turn around and realize that you overperformed with that team.
Oh, I did, yeah. When I look at the final results, I did overperform a little bit. I scored more goals. Actually gave up more goals, too, than realized. So I'm doing all the compare and contrast with actual stats this week, actually. I just finished up, so I've been busy with work. So I want to sit down with this and say, okay, what are my final results? How did the goalies do compared to real life? How did the team do in the whole bit? And post my results for that project. I'll put that on the Digital to Dice Facebook group and probably on some of the Delphi forums, too.
And that's why they make cheese sauce for your broccoli.
Yeah, to get it down, to get it to go down. Holy cow, that was something else. I like I said, I knew I was in for a rough time, but boy, I didn't know it would be that rough. And Ron, it's one thing, I'm repeating myself here, but it's one thing to know you're going in as the underdog. It's the other thing to see a team get. I had a major penalty against somebody, and the other team had 4 scoring chances and scored 2 or 3 shorthanded goals on me. It's just like, wow, everything that could have went wrong for this team.
As someone who covered a real life team for a year and a half, and somehow lost 2 Game 5s of a first-round playoff series when it was a decisive game, and you have no control over what you're seeing in front of you, yeah. At least when you're doing a replay, you can take a couple days off or whatever. But when you're covering that team that goes through the myriad of injuries or the bullpen can't get anybody out, I'm talking to you, 2017 Washington Nationals, wink, wink. And there's nothing you can do, and the only thing you can do is wake up and do the same thing tomorrow. The replay, at least you can put away.
Yeah. No, you're
First
right.
pitch is at 7:05 tomorrow night, whether you want it or
Yeah,
not.
no, the replay is, again, it's all in fun. It's all fake. It's all fictitious, and I get it.
That's right.
So anyway, we want to get your thoughts on this. Do you guys finish your vegetables? I mean, I know a lot of you out there listening have a lot of projects going on for many different reasons, as we all do. And it is fun. You see something that triggers a memory, and you're like, hey, I want to start this project here. Or maybe they come out with a new season that you want to play in your favorite game, so you're going to play a new season. So we all have multiple projects going on. And what happens when one of them, we already talked about it going south, but when you're so close to finishing it, what do? Do you finish your vegetables, or do you push it off to the side and say, maybe I'll finish this someday, maybe I won't? So that's kind of where we are here in this one here. So I finished my vegetables. I wrapped up that. I was close enough, as tough as it was, and going through some tough games and the losing streak. I finished up. I finished strong with ice cream, as they say, as I wrapped up that project there. So, but it was a good learning experience.
Yes.
It's something where now, when I get into these longer projects, I got to find something, knowing this could happen. So now it might help me decide on what team or what game or what exactly I want to do with a longer term project. And so maybe not playing as a bad team would be a good way to go. You know what it is I see all these games, and everyone's always playing the top teams and picking the good teams and the whole bit. And I like to give the other teams some love, the teams that aren't that good. I want to give them some love, and I want to give them some attention. And I know I'm in the minority here, but
I'm not sure you're in the minority, but I don't think it's a huge minority.
No, there's a lot of guys that do like the
There's a lot of guys that do that. Yeah.
But like I was looking at some of these, I won't name names, but there's a lot of games I'm looking at that have actual cards, and it's like, well, I want to get all the teams on the cards. I don't want to get just the greatest hits, and I don't want to get just the greatest teams, the greatest. I want to get everybody. I want to play the oddball teams. I don't want to just play, Red Sox, Yankees, or Bruins, Canadians. I want to play some of these other teams. I want to play the bad teams from time to time.
You must play the Canadians. We've talked about this already.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, because it's if you're doing a pure cards and dice replay, it takes time to play these games. Does that Islander, if you're, let's say, doing a mid-'80s Bruins replay where you're going to make the playoffs, can you just get home ice advantage in the first round and the divisional semis? Do you veer off and play the Islander Edmonton game that you see in the schedule that looks so tempting? It's Gretzky and Bossy, for crying out loud. Do you go through and play that Cowboy and Redskin game when you're doing a Bronco replay? At some point, the time adds up. And depending on the scope, football is only 14, 16 weeks. But do I want to play those extra 15, 20 games when I know I have an 80 to 84 game replay before we get to the playoffs? Okay, yes, I got to play the crappy teams a number of times, but really, do I really want to sit there and play Hartford and Quebec?
Well, to add to that, though, there's a couple of seasons I want to pick up on some of the Downey football games that I want to play a better team. New England or Pittsburgh, I want to play that 0-16 Cleveland team. I want to see how bad that score can be in that game. There's always an intrigue with me about that, because everyone, like I say, everyone plays the top teams, and it's always a great game, but it's always fun once in a while to see the bottom teams play out.
That's what AutoSim is for. Then you can see.
Yeah, I know, but it still is.
I get it.
You see what I mean?
And
It's like, Yeah, so I saw that 0-16 Browns team, whatever season that was. I want to get that season, and I want to play against. I'm not going to replay their season. Maybe I will in like a game-winning drive or something to see if they can get a win or whatever. Because I like doing those. The 16-game season of football, they breeze by. They're
those
pretty
are
good.
short. Yeah.
But I mean, I was learning, like I said, the Mean Gene football. I've only played one game, and I'm trying to learn how to play that. So I thought about playing a bad team just to see how that would play out. Instead of playing Pittsburgh, Dallas all the time, or the 49ers with Montana or Young or whatever. Let's play a bad team. I like to play the bad teams once in a while.
Take the Giants, all right. One year they can be good, and the next year they can be really bad, or even from one week to the next. I mean, nobody gets more inconsistent historically than the New York Football Giants, okay?
Yep, they are. At least
you'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll go bald.
At least the Jets are consistent. That's good.
Not in a good way.
Not in a good way. So, anyway, as we wrap up here, what are your thoughts on this? We've kind of...
Yeah.
We beat this to death, just asking our audience, do you guys finish your vegetables? You push it off to the side. Do you ever, I'd like to ask some people, have you ever put a project aside for a long period of time and then gone back and said, let me button this up. Let me just wrap this up instead of just putting this off into oblivion. I'd be interested to see how many people have gone back, have given it some time, maybe done 3 or 4 or 5 other projects and then gone back and said, I got this project sitting here that I'm about halfway through that I should go back and finish. And I'm wondering how many people do that as well. So
absolutely. So how do they get a hold of us?
All right, let's wrap this up here. So, once again, thanks to Metal Church for bringing us the music again this week, and Rat Pack Records for letting us use this song called By the Numbers by Metal Church. Ways to get a hold of us here. digitaltodice.com is our website. Our voice and text line, 978-751-DICE, 978-751-3423. And on Facebook, facebook.com/groups/digitaltodice. Ron, thanks for joining me today.
My pleasure.
And we hope to get a guest on very shortly here, as we're about due for another guest on the show. But again, we want your feedback, on finishing your vegetables. Have a good day, everybody.